From Northampton, Massachusetts, to talk about the impact of the Bush-era wiretap surveillance report is Shahid Buttar, a civil rights lawyer and executive director of the Bill of Rights Defence Committee. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. On that issue of the report saying that if these methods are still being used, the secret programmes are still continuing, that they must be carefully monitored. Would that happen? I mean, are there any new safeguards in place?
Absolutely not. In fact, one of the biggest concerns about the report that we in the civil liberties community have is that it simply reiterates so much of what we've been saying for the last year, and there really is no meaningful oversight of these programs, which continue to be shrouded in secrecy.
What was intriguing also is that they interviewed various people, about 200 people, but there were some people who refused to be questioned, including the former Attorney General. Are you surprised that people were able just to say, well, I'm not going to be questioned?
It really reflects an ongoing problem with respect to the assertion of executive power. And the thing I'd note here is that while these were Bush administration officials who declined to be interviewed on the record by the inspector generals of these different agencies, the Obama administration also continues to assert secrecy. There's an interesting parallel here. The House Intel Authorization Bill this week aimed to some extent to respond to this dynamic, basically requiring more members of Congress to be read into secret programs like the surveillance program. However, the Obama administration has threatened to veto that bill precisely to protect exactly the sort of secrecy that you're talking about. So
can we sort of assume then that the Obama administration has effectively inherited these programs, or do we not really know whether they still exist?
I don't think it's an assumption. The IG's report confirms that those programs remain ongoing. The issues that I think the Inspector General's report particularly brings into focus is that despite being ongoing programs inherited and continued by the new administration, they were singularly ineffective in doing anything to enhance national security, and they confirmed that the secrecy shrouding these programs has really been a cover for abuse.
Except that the former CIA director, Michael Hayden, told the report's authors that the surveillance was, quote, extremely valuable in preventing further al-Qaeda attacks.
And then at the same time, they failed to offer any discrete instance in which that actually proved true. And the report also calls into focus the extent to which the secrecy of the program inhibited its operation. Intelligence officials who would benefit from analysis collected under the program didn't receive it. And we also know that from an oversight perspective, that secrecy also had an implication. John Yoo, who you might have heard about, he was one of the lawyers who wrote the torture memos. He also was an instrumental figure in the legal justification for the surveillance program, and his superiors were not read into the program. He was selectively plucked from the Justice Department to provide a supportive opinion.
So, I mean, we've had Senator Patrick Leahy calling for a formal, non-partisan inquiry into the government's information-gathering programs. Would that make a difference? Would that kind of an inquiry mean that people would have to testify, and then there would be a system put in place so that Congress had oversight over surveillance programs?
To be frank, I think we're well past that point. I think that the opportunity last year to put meaningful safeguards in place in the FISA Amendments Act was one that Congress, to our chagrin, punted. You know, the new president at the time, as a senator, said that he would filibuster that bill, ultimately voted for it. I think that was an occasion, and there will be more occasions, including later this year when some of the authorizations in that bill expire, to place limits. I think we're past the point of inquiry. We know everything we need to know. We know that this program was illegal. We know that this program has violated every limit that has been publicly disclosed, or the limits that the administration has purported to abide by. I think the point of inquiry is past, and what we really need is a statutory leash placed on these activities.
Okay, Shahid Buttar, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts on that story today.